Welcome everybody. My name is Mary Virginia Coffman, and you all know me from the mindful nutrition class that I offer over at Skyland Trail. I'm thrilled that you all could come here today. And what I have here to help illustrate what we've been learning for these last few weeks is a one-pot meal that you can make really easily. It can be a delicious dinner tonight, and then you can take it for leftovers for work tomorrow. After we finish with this one, we're going to go over to the other island and we're going to make dessert. So it's everything here fits in with the Institute for Functional Medicine's core food plan, as we have discussed. And I have provided you some informational sheets right there. So if you'll pick them up, you'll need them. You'll want them along the way. You'll notice that there's the core food plan list, which you've seen before and has been up. It's up on the website. And then there's also the phytonutrient spectrum list that shows the phytonutrients density by color, which makes it really easy. So today what we are going to make is 8-minute dal. It's an Indian recipe, or based on an Indian recipe, and it's very easy to make. So it contains coconut milk, garlic and onions, lentils, a bunch of vegetables, and then I've got some wonderful herbs and condiments in the form of lime juice right there, and then we can put it over rice later if you want to. And I've got tasters for you all to have later. Yay. All right, so in order to make it easy, I have gone ahead and laid everything out so that you don't have to watch me chop every last little thing. But I know that not everybody cooks all the time, so I thought it would be helpful if I did a little bit of demonstrating of the how of getting the vegetables ready. I'm going to move these out of the way to make it easier for you all to see. You're standing a little late. I guess I should point them out first. This is I got organic lentils because, as I've spoken to you about, it's really good for you to have clean food as often as you possibly can with fewer toxins that stress your body less. And then I'm moving the Celtic sea salt, which is mixed in with herbs and spices right there. Celtic sea salt and Himalayan pink salt have the exact minerals that our bodies have. So when you eat it, you are replenishing lost minerals or minerals that you need to eat on a daily basis. Move those away since they're big. So the first thing that we have is the coconut oil, and you may recall that the coconut oil is rich with medium chain fatty acids. Medium chain fatty acids are used by your body easily as energy, so it's absorbed very easily by your intestinal tract, and it goes very quickly to be used for energy, compared to some other fats and oils that you might use that are not used as easily. The other benefit of coconut oil is that it is antibacterial, antifungal, and antiviral. So very much like olive oil, which also has all of those components. People are scared of coconut oil because it has saturated fat in it. We all need, you'll recall from class, our cells need fats that are both polyunsaturated, which have the kinked chains in them, which make our cell walls flexible so that they can absorb nutrients more easily. But we also need a little bit, just a little bit of saturated fat in our diets because we need those cell walls to be stable as well. And the oils we eat are incorporated into our cell walls, our phospholipid bilayers. Let's see, I need a spoon. I'm going to use the spoon for our sample. So I'm going to go ahead and get this going and get the coconut oil melting. It is, coconut oil is kind of cool because as it gets warmer, at about 75 degrees, it turns to liquid, and below 75 degrees, it's a solid, which is kind of neat. So while that's melting, since apparently it's below 75 degrees in here, I'm going to demonstrate you can see how I chop the onions. So I'm going to demonstrate how to chop the rest of my little onion here. I like to slice it. You have to be very careful with your knife. Never put your fingers in the way of it. I like to slice it into lines like that down the length of it, and then that makes it all set up to cube it like that. And so you keep your fingers out of the way by curling them under. And you put it in here, and I'm going to go put the onions in to start caramelizing. So let's stir that around a little bit. That was about half an onion that I put in there, half of a medium onion. The recipe itself calls for about 1/3 of a cup of onion, but I like onion, and onion is awesome for you. So I put in a little bit more than that. During this class, I'm not going to caramelize the onions because that takes about 10 or 15 minutes to do, and we don't have that time. So we're just going to cook them down right here. And when they become, what's the word? Clear?
Translucent.
Translucent, thank you. When they become translucent, then they're ready. So there you go. So we'll get that going. So while that's cooking, I will get the garlic ready, and you can see that I minced the garlic as well. And I'm going to take the garlic, and I'm going to be just as careful with the garlic as I was with the onion, except that it's so much smaller, you have to be that much more careful. The knife is very sharp, and I highly recommend a sharp knife. It makes cooking so much easier. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to hold my fingers around it, and I'm going to slice little slices like that, and like that, and I don't know if everybody does it this way, but this is the way I do it. And then chop it into mince, like that. And I usually chop it a little bit more, just to get the last little bits. Alright, so with that in mind, you're actually not supposed to use this sharp side of the knife along the chopping board because it will dull the knife. So, our onion's looking good, it's smelling good. I'm going to go ahead and put the garlic in, and we'll have it cook until it's fragrant. I had it on medium-high heat to work on the caramelization. It's actually a little bit high for the garlic, so I'm going to turn it down. And then as that gets fragrant, can you start smelling the garlic coming up? Okay, so other people like the smell of baking cookies. I like the smell of garlic and onions. I don't know where I put that. There we go. All right, so while that's getting ready, this is about half a cup of red lentils. And we put the red lentils, and actually I think that my other fluid is supposed to be over here. Put the red lentils, and you have the recipe, and half a cup of water into the pan. All right, so while I'm cooking that up, while I'm getting that ready, look on your core food plan. Can you all tell me, can you remember about lentils? You see them on there?
Yes, under legumes.
They're under legumes. Lentils are a fantastic source of protein, but beyond that, they're protein, great source of fiber, and they're low in fat. So they're particularly healthy, and they have the fiber that helps build up your good bacteria down in your digestive tract. So your recipe calls for cans, which I don't typically use because most can liners have BPA in them, bisphenol A, which is an endocrine disruptor. So I don't tend to use cans. Very careful about what I buy. This time when I bought cans, I bought the Muir Glen. I find that the Kroger Simple Truth also has BPA-free liners, but unfortunately I can't find coconut milk that doesn't have a BPA-free liner. So I apologize. It's not what I would normally use, but for the purposes of the cooking demonstration, this is what we will do. So we've got the onions and the garlic in there. We've got the lentils and the water in there from our recipe. The coconut milk, knowing what you know now about coconut oil, what can you tell me about coconut milk? Because I was talking about it as I put it in the pan. Remember?
Yeah. And it has the
Yes, it's bigger on the saturated fats than on the unsaturated fats. The thing that I really love to remember about coconut oil and coconut milk and all the coconut products, aside from the fact that they're a ready source of energy, they're antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal. So they're really good for you. All right, so that's gonna burble along for just a minute while we talk about the vegetables. Right, so we've gone over the phytonutrient spectrum, the Institute for Functional Medicine phytonutrient spectrum. What colors do I have in front of me today?
There's orange.
Yes?
Green.
Yes?
White.
Absolutely. Can you all look down your phytonutrient spectrum and tell me some of the benefits you're getting out of that?
Cell protection.
Yes.
Anti-inflammatory.
What's anti-inflammatory?
It's under the green section.
Under the green section, so we have broccoli and we have spinach for anti-inflammatory.
Liver health under the white section.
Liver health under the white section. So I'm going to point out one other thing that is not on that, and you do have this handout from a different class as well. Cruciferous vegetables, the broccoli and the cauliflower are cruciferous vegetables. They are preventative of cancer. So if your diet is rich in cruciferous vegetables, you are less likely to get cancer, or rather, you are supporting your body to be able to fight cancerous cells so that they don't turn into something dangerous to you. So just as I showed you the chopping style for those things, I'm going to do a little chopping of these things. This is just to look pretty. I've already used my peeler to peel the carrot, and I've washed all the vegetables and I've chopped them up. We have talked about being prepared. When you're a working person and you're out in the world, and who has time to cook? I mean, that's crazy, right? Finding the day that you are most available to do your shopping, planning your menu, writing your grocery list. We've gone through all of those steps. So this displays for you what we talked about in terms of preparing the vegetables beforehand. So yesterday I went to the store, because that's when I had time to go. I came home and I put away all of my shopping, but I kept out the vegetables that I knew that I was going to need for my recipes. And so I prepared these beforehand, and I stored them in glass containers, covered glass containers, so that they were really easy to pull out when it was time to use them. If you do that, as soon as you get home, then it's easy to pull out carrot sticks and celery when you just need a snack, right? It's very easy to get that. You're going to cook a meal that's maybe feels a little more complicated than you're used to, but you just pull out your vegetables. There they are. They're ready to go. You dump them in the pot and off you go. So I'm going to show you how I did these rounds. And again, these are my knife skills. You have to be very careful with your knife skills. So I chop them on the diagonal like that, and it makes them into pretty little, I'm forgetting the word because they're not rondelles. Rondelles are the round ones. So I did that for all of the carrots, and you can see how they make such a pretty little diagonal. Might as well make your meal pretty, right? Mm-hmm. And then the other vegetables are, I like to have them in bite-sized pieces, and the stems are a little harder, so I cut them into smaller pieces, and then I find the little splits in our little trees of broccoli here, and I cut them, I separate them out like that. And as I say, I like to have them bite-sized. Some people like to have them bigger. It's entirely your choice how you want to do it. So there we go. There's our broccoli, and I will do our cauliflower. Same thing. Stems are a little more firm. They don't have as much air in them, and so the water doesn't get in there. So you cut them a little smaller, and then I cut these into. Here we go. All right. So our pan is ready. The water and all the liquid elements are boiling away. I am going to add all of our vegetables in one fell swoop like that. The spinach takes just a second to wilt and to blend in. So I wait until the very end to put that in. So there you go. And then that cooks, you cook this down for about 20 minutes. And that allows the lentils to cook all the way and allows the vegetables to cook through. Oh, but I've forgotten something. Our herbs. All right, so our herbs are fabulous. I've already told you about the Celtic sea salt. It's got the same proportions and minerals that your body contains, so it's really wonderful for you. It's a very easy way to replenish yourself and not lose the minerals. We're using curry, just your basic curry powder, and turmeric. Turmeric has curcuminoids, a nice big word, just think anti-inflammatory. Turmeric is wonderful for you. There's a lot of research being done on it right now. It is also anti-cancer. It's also filled with fiber and B vitamins and all kinds of wonderful things. And if you eat it with black pepper, you can see I've got the sea salt and the curry and the turmeric and the black pepper together. Black pepper has a chemical in it called piperine. I've actually only read it. But it allows the curcuminoids to be absorbed and go to work. So it's a really good idea to combine your turmeric with eating black pepper. So I'm going to add those in. And it's, I think it's a teaspoon of curry and a teaspoon of turmeric and a teaspoon of, maybe a little more curry actually, but you have it in your recipe, so I don't have to remember it offhand. All right, so that's burbling away. Ooh, the spices make it smell so good. So that's great. So these are all done. We will wait on our spinach until it's cooked. I'm going to put that aside. I use the measuring cups to put in there because it's 4 cups of vegetables and it's 3 to 4 cups of packed spinach. So I did that to sort of emphasize, like show you what that looks like. Do you all recall how many vegetables, non-starchy vegetables to eat a day?
7 to 9.
7 to 9. Exactly. Woo, good job. Thank you so much for remembering that. So 7 to 9 vegetables a day, which sounds like a lot until you realize that there are easy ways of incorporating that number, like having a one-pot meal like this one. You can have it as a big salad, you can mix them into your smoothies, there are a lot of ways of doing it. So while that's cooking, actually it's burbling a little higher than I want, I'm going to give you each a little nibble of this, and I'm going to let you sample the lemon juice and the cilantro on top of it because it's so delicious, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we can move this on into the next day's meal. All right, I probably should have served these out before. Do y'all want to come over? Maybe I'll let you serve yourselves. I'll get you started. Here you go. There you can start, and I'll let everybody else serve themselves.
Thank you.
Here you go, your little dish of your little sampler dish. So I've chosen to serve this with brown rice. One of the wonderful things about this meal is that it is also very allergen friendly. So it does not have gluten, soy, dairy, eggs. A lot of the common allergens are not part of this meal. Brown rice is a whole grain, and you'll recall that the whole grain is important because that's where the nutrients are found. So the fiber, and the vitamins and minerals, anything you're going to find in it will not be in the strip grain of like a white rice. It's going to be in the brown rice. It'll be in the bran, in the endosperm, and the oh yeah, it's nice when your rain goes out. The bran, the endosperm, and the germ. We have talked about the phytonutrient spectrum. You all noticed your greens. So a wonderful thing to add to this that tastes so good is a little bit of lime juice, which I've squeezed from the fresh lime using a reamer here. And cilantro. Cilantro is, I can't even tell you the number of wonderful things that are in cilantro for you. But it is also filled with vitamins and minerals and phytonutrients, and it's very nutrient dense. always add herbs wherever you can, herbs and spices to your meals. So I talked about transforming this into a meal that you can have the next day. I do not advocate warming up in plastic, which a lot of people do. They'll carry their meal to work in plastic and then they'll stick it in the microwave and off they'll go. The problem with plastic is that it's also an endocrine disruptor, and it will really mess with your hormones and cause some issues. So I really like to use a thermos. I like to buy a pretty one. So mine is pink and blue, but it's stainless steel inside rather than plastic. The thing with the thermos, you could bring your food to work two different ways. You could bring it in glass and warm it up in glass, or you can warm it up at home, which is what I like to do beforehand. Warm it up to very hot so it's steaming and put it into the thermos. The way to keep it hot is to pour hot water in the thermos while you're heating your food. Pour out the hot water and then put the warm food in, and it will keep it warm. I mean, it'll be hot. Like, you might have to be careful not to burn your mouth. All right, so our meal is cooking. I'm going to give it a stir. I think it's doing just fine. Of course, I've got my spoon over here. Give it a stir. It's doing well. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and add in the spinach. 4 cups of spinach. And as I said, the wonderful thing about spinach is that it dissolves into the meal very quickly. Do you all have any questions so far? Like at this moment while I'm stirring the spinach in?
You may have said, does the lime juice have any particular effect on the other ingredients?
It's a great question. It's a great question. Aside from tasting delicious, it's very high in vitamin C, and lime juice is wonderful for that. Because of the vitamin C, it'll help you absorb the iron from the spinach. That's a good question. Thank you.
You're using a cast iron pot. Does that have anything to do with the iron as well, or is there anything in the meal that helps with the?
That's another
iron
good
absorption?
question. It's like there are plants in the audience. I like that. Yes, I like to cook, especially foods like this meal has tomatoes in it. There's a little bit of acid in the tomato, and it absorbs the iron from the pot. So it makes it a nice iron-rich meal as well, along with the lentils, which are also high in iron. So thank you. Oh, you set me right up for that one. That's awesome. All right, so you all have had your little nibbles. You're welcome to put your bowls down. We're going to let that cook for a little bit. You've had your sample meal, and we're going to move over and make dessert.
Yeah.
This is the easiest dessert in the world. These are lemon ginger cookies, and it's made with almond flour and baking soda, ginger and the
Right.
thank you. Yes, but it's got the shaving of it has its own name.
Zest.
The zest, thank you. The maple syrup and coconut oil. And this would not be an appropriate dessert if you had a nut allergy, obviously, right? That's something to consider. It's the Institute for Functional Medicine recommends 2 servings of nuts a day. So this is a great way, it's a really delicious way to get your nuts in. They say 4 servings of fats and 2 servings of nuts every day is what they recommend. So I've got it all measured out. It's very gingery, 2 tablespoons of ginger. You mix your dry ingredients. I've already put the baking soda in here. So I'll stir that around and get that mixed in. And I use a microplane to get the zest off the lemon. So I'll just demonstrate that for a second because it's really cool. Has anybody ever used a microplane before?
No.
Never used one? Awesome. You need to get one. You can get one at Kroger, get one at the grocery store. So they're really easy. You just press gently, and there you go. There's your zest. Pretty easy. All right. All right, so I'm going to add the zest in to the dry ingredients and stir that around. Another wonderful 1-pot dish here. Stir that in. I'm going to stir in the coconut oil, which is 1/4 of a cup of coconut oil. So that goes, if you were eating these two dishes together, you would absolutely have hit your limit for the day of saturated fats. But I really like this dish, so I wanted to make it for this. And then maple syrup used to be called grade B maple syrup that I would recommend. But I believe, from what I can tell, it has a new name and it's dark grade A. So choose that because it has a higher mineral content. You can see you just stir it together very easily. It smells delicious. Do you want to smell it? Like you can eat it. Here, I'll walk around. My filmer can't film me doing that. Take it over. I want you to smell that.
No, it smells really good. I smell the ginger a lot.
Yeah, the ginger is very strong in there.
Yeah.
Isn't that good?
Mm-hmm.
Very appealing. The I think that the lemon and the ginger are a nice follow-on to the spices of the other meal. And then I have another spoon here, and you just take one rounded, maybe not quite that big, and you dollop it onto your pan like that. And so once I did all of that, I would get it on there and put it into the oven. The oven is at 350 degrees. And I'll pretend like I've finished all of that. Yes?
What is that tan and blue thing you've got on the pan there?
Oh, it really is a plant. This is a silicone pad, a silicone sleeve or sheet, and it protects the pan underneath so things don't stick to it. Nothing sticks to the silicone. It's wonderful, and it makes cooking very easy. So I like to use them. I'm not quite going to finish all these out. We'll pretend like I put them in the oven, and we'll come over and you all get to taste test the cookies and the berries. So you can have it for dessert. I'm going to go ahead and hand these out and let you all serve yourselves. Here you go. So you can have it for dessert, after your meal. And then you can bring it to work the next day. So the Institute for Functional Medicine also recommends 1 to 2 servings of fruit a day. So it would be a 1/2 cup of berries, or like a single apple would be a serving of fruit. Berries are rich in phytonutrients. We don't have our phytonutrient spectrum in front of us anymore, but maybe you can check it out later. Green tea has all kinds of health benefits. It's wonderful for you. So my recommended snack is one of the lemon ginger cookies, which is filled with protein and healthy fats, as well as the ginger, which is wonderfully soothing for your intestinal tract, and a serving of berries, and have it with your tea. Always recommend, whenever you have fruit, have it with some protein because it slows down the absorption of the sugars and it prevents a spike in blood sugar and then a crash later. It kind of makes the carbohydrates in the berries into a time release energy boost. And then I also have, oh, I didn't give away. There you go. I have here, and you all can come around and start serving yourselves. Going back to the taking it to work, I have a reusable container that you can put your cookies in. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I always recommend glass or stainless steel. So here are my berries for tomorrow. And I put a couple of cookies in my reusable lunch skins here. And I'm sure that I left out some wonderful things. But we talked about them in class, and we can go over them again. Do you all have any questions? Yeah.
What is the nutritional value of the maple syrup inside this?
The maple syrup, thank you for asking that question because it is high in sugars, obviously. We don't use very much in this recipe, but it's also the reason we use grade B maple syrup versus, say, white sugar is that it is rich in minerals. So it has a little nutritive value that, white sugar doesn't have.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for asking the question. I'm going to survey my scene here and see what I have left out. We've talked about the proteins in the meal. Do you all remember the proteins? Can you identify some of the proteins in the meal?
Lentils.
Lentils, exactly.
There's the spinach. I think.
You know, actually we didn't talk about it, but you're right. Spinach has protein in it, and it's a great source of protein. With vegetables, when you eat vegetables as one of your sources of protein, you have to eat it in a larger quantity. Spinach is great to eat in large quantities. But here in our dessert, we also have a good protein. Do you remember what it is?
Almond flour.
The almond flour. That's exactly right. Okay, and our healthy fats. We had coconut oil over there. If you chose not to use coconut oil, you could use olive oil in that dish. I went ahead and followed the recipe, but olive oil would work. Avocado oil would work. Those are great polyunsaturated fatty acids, which will support the flexibility of your cell walls and are also antibacterial, antiviral, all of that kind of thing. And then the carbohydrates, which we will find in the vegetables. Vegetables are filled with carbohydrates. People forget that. When you eat this way, you can taste the sweetness in them. If you bite into a carrot and you're no longer eating, candy bars. When you bite into a carrot and close your eyes, you can really taste the sweetness in it. That's the carbohydrate. The lentils also have carbohydrates. They have wonderful fiber in it. So you've got fiber in the vegetables and in the lentils. And then we talked about the protein and the healthy fats. The carbohydrates are also, you'll find in the maple syrup and in the berries and any fruit that you would eat. Always remember to eat a source of protein and fat with your carbohydrates, and it will provide a time release energy boost. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Laura, do you have a question?
Why did you choose berries over a different fruit or other types of fruit?
That's a great question. Berries are low glycemic, so they are less likely to spike your blood sugar. If blood sugar issues are not a problem for you, then another fruit would do. You could have. Highly recommend apples. They're particularly good for your intestinal tract as well. But if you wanted a pear or a banana or mangoes or whatever, you could have that instead. All right. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.